There we go. Okay, great. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here today. And we're here to talk about WildFit and how you can get the health transformation that you've really been waiting for. So, and I'm super excited about this. I know that I've had conversations with most of you about what's been going on for me, and it's been pretty phenomenal stuff. I've been just really amazed. So I am technically a WildFit coach in training. I still have a little more work to do before I complete that. I've done about 120 hours worth of coursework. I've sat for a 4.5 hour written exam. The next thing I have to do is conduct what we call a trial group. And then from that point, I get to sit for an oral exam, and then I finally get my certification. So pretty big journey all the way down the line. So part of what we're going to talk about today is what the human diet is, what causes diets to fail, a little bit about how the sugar industry has manipulated all of us, the 6 human hungers as we talk about them within WildFit, and most importantly, how to create lasting results without having to use willpower. So, and I'm going to encourage you, if you've got questions, go ahead and type them in the chat, or if you just want to make notes, but I want to make sure we've got a little time for Q&A at the end to get everything covered that you guys want to. So you're in the right place today. If you've ever struggled with weight, if you've ever done any of the yo-yo dieting thing, if you hit a wall in the afternoon and you feel like you've just run out of energy and it's just a struggle to get through the day, and maybe you think you need to go have that caffeine hit. If you're having trouble sleeping, if you suffer from brain fog, and truly a whole lot of other benefits that really can come as a result of first getting your nutrition straightened out. So I've got some cool resources we're going to be sharing at the end of this, and some giveaway stuff, so stay tuned for that. So let's start with, what is the human diet? And I kind of love this graphic because really what the point is that every species has its own diet. There's a diet for elephants, there's a diet for lions, there's a diet for monkeys, there's a diet for humans, and they're all different diets. So diet actually means lifestyle. It doesn't mean restriction in the way that we've come to understand it in modern times. Part of that has been just the fact that so many people are trying to sell things, right? Everybody wants to sell something. And these people that are selling things for, selling diet plans, are doing it because it's catchy and it's a great way to make money, rather than what's really good for the human diet, the human lifestyle that we should be enjoying. And the WildFit principle is that, based on the fact that we started our human history as hunter and gatherers, and that has a lot of different connotations in how we approach evolutionary eating. So for one thing, if you think about the whole hunting and gathering aspect of this, you'll know that the hunters may or may not have been successful. In fact, many days they probably weren't successful. So there were probably a number of days where there were nothing productive from hunting, and all they're doing is working on the gathering aspect of it. So you're not eating necessarily all of the things that we are in our modern culture every single day, nor do we need to. And so this is, it's really very adaptive to what would be available from an evolutionary perspective and from a seasonal perspective as well. And in this particular picture, this guy over here on the right is Eric Edmeades, who is the founder of WildFit. And he is in the African bush with the Bushmen from the Hudsu tribe. He spends actually a fair amount of time hanging out with these people. Pretty interesting. And this is part of how he came to this understanding in developing this entire program. So I want to share a little bit about my experience personally. I first joined WildFit because I had arthritis pain that was really keeping me from being able to close my fist. And that meant a whole lot of other things were much more difficult. It meant things like, if I was in the gym, just holding onto a barbell had become really difficult because I couldn't really get a good grip on things anymore. Writing, typing, all those things. And so as a result of my WildFit experience, first and foremost, the inflammation and my arthritis pain are virtually gone. I won't say I never have any pain whatsoever, you know, like if it's like super damp, I might have a little bit of pain in my knuckles, but you know, I'm making a full fist again. I can do everything that I need to. So that's been, you know, truly awesome. My energy level has been through the roof all day long. You know, typically for me, here we are at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I would have been thinking my day is done. I'll go park in front of the television for a while because I don't have any energy left to do anything effective. I have released almost 30 pounds of unneeded weight. I've reduced my measurements by 29 inches overall. I've increased muscle tone without added exercise, which is just like flabbergasting me. I'm becoming stronger, and I'm not really doing new additional exercise. So that's been super, super cool. My nails have gotten longer and stronger, and I have overall improved sleep quality and more. I mean, these are just like some of the basic things that have been going on with me. And I'm not unusual in any way, shape, or form from everybody on this program. So here it is. When I'm putting this together, I'm thinking, well, that's a little bit embarrassing on the left, but it's also the truth. This is where I was in, you know, mid-late February this year. And when I pulled up my before picture and looked at it, the thing that I really realized is I'm overlapping the door frame. It just really astonished me to notice that. And I don't look good. I mean, as in, you know, weight aside, I don't look all that healthy. I don't look all that vibrant. And then on the right, I mean, this is the after pic. This, I actually just took this one a few days ago. I'm standing in exactly the same door frame. Look at my left hand, my left hand wrist on the right side of your screen. And there are inches separating me from the door frame rather than overlapping it. So to me, this is just like hugely graphic. You know, skin tone's significantly improved. Now, yes, I've got some suntan going on because it's the middle of summer, but despite that, my skin looks much more vibrant than it had previously. So pretty substantial. So what makes diets work for some people and not for others? Well, most diets are based simply on willpower. That's thing number one. And most diets will also do nothing more than give you a list of foods to eat and another list of foods to not eat. What WildFit is all about is nutritional education coupled with food psychology and really a scientifically sound nutritional approach to what we should and should not be eating and how and when and a bunch of other things. So for the people for whom diets can actually work, they're willing to use an extreme amount of willpower to maintain where they are for the most part. That's how they really managed to get it done. And they may have just hit on the right combination of things somewhat serendipitously. But for most people, diets don't work. And certainly I was one of them. I've tried plenty of different diets over the years. And as a result, I mean, I've done the whole yo-yo thing. In fact, there's actually very clear scientific evidence that says most people who go on a diet, once they've been on it for a while, they come off. And then at that point, they gain back all the weight that they've lost, plus another 3 pounds. And people who are doing that on a regular basis wind up often putting on an extra 15 or 20 pounds over the course of less than 5 years. And of course, the older we get, the more easy it is for that to happen. So the other issue that we have going on that's absolutely huge is how the sugar industry has been manipulating us for quite a long time now. So one of the first things that happened back in the 80s, remember the whole low-fat craze? Well, the low-fat craze is with us because the sugar industry made fat out to be the evil in food consumption, and they did this by hiring a couple of Harvard guys to conduct a complete study that they funded to prove that sugar is not the enemy, fat is. And that became an entire marketing campaign that has been with us for decades now. Finally starting to straighten out a little bit. People are starting to understand that sugar really is the enemy. But we still have such a prevalence of issues within our food supply right now. It's kind of a crazy. In fact, I'm going to ask you guys to do this when we're done this evening. Check your pantry and go through some of the items that you have in your pantry. Read the list of ingredients and look for how often sugar shows up. And I think you'll be surprised at how often that is. When I did this myself, when I started the WildFit Challenge, actually, I found several things in my pantry that, although I knew they weren't awesome for me, it was kind of like a treat, if you will. So one of those things was Stacy's Organic Pita Chips. I cannot to this day figure out why we have sugar added to pita chips, which are not supposed to be a sweet substance to begin with. Actually, I can figure it out. Here's why. Because sugar is more addictive than heroin and cocaine, and what has happened is the sugar industry is putting sugar into pretty much everything that's being manufactured so that we'll eat more of it. So we'll crave it because it is highly addictive, and it's really hard for people to be able to avoid that. So I think you may be surprised at what that winds up looking like when you check your own pantry. And here comes the cat. You know, ever since we started doing so much online with Zoom, one of the memes that I saw early on was I spend 7% of my day trying to keep my cat out of my Zoom camera. And I think that's pretty true for me. So there are actually 65 hidden names of sugar that we've identified. And this is the role of sugar is in food cravings. It's just simply the addictive quality of it. And so it just makes us want to eat more and more. And of course, you know, we've done all of the supersizing over several decades now with getting bigger and bigger quantities that most people have reached the point where they are no longer even aware of when they're really full. They just aren't paying enough attention to what's going on in their body to have a clear feeling around that. So sugar's a really big deal. Here's the truth about ketchup. I mean, if you look at the empty bottle and the full bottle, you can see that almost half of that bottle is sugar. So kind of amazing. Look at the comparison of, you know, popular drinks. We've got Coca-Cola, you know, iced tea, Nestea iced tea, Red Bull, you know, Dole juice box, a chocolate milk thing, oh, and a bottle of water. So the bottle of water down here on the end is the only thing that doesn't have sugar added. And, you know, all of these are just kind of awful in terms of, you know, caloric consumption, making you want to consume more of it, all those kinds of things. So I think it's a pretty good graphic reminder of how much sugar gets added to the substances we're being encouraged to consume. So let me see. Can you see? You can see the whole screen, right? You guys can see the whole screen. Somebody give me a thumbs up. It's not cut off. Okay, good. Because it's cut off a little bit for me. There we go. So here's Andrea's cupcake story. Before she did WildFit, she was gaining a steady 5 to 7 pounds a year, addicted to sugar, and, you know, needed it for the energy to get through the afternoon. So, you know, the response was for her that her adrenals were burned out and she was always tired. But since she did WildFit, she's released 15 pounds since joining WildFit. She no longer craves sugar and can easily walk away from cupcakes, which is something she never thought she could do. And like me, endless energy all day. So pretty cool outcome. And here's one of the things that's really, really interesting, because most diets are really specific about, you know, calories in versus calories out, and you need to be hungry in order to be able to lose weight. And the truth is, it's really impossible to lose weight when you're hungry, because your body is being signaled that there's not enough food available, so it's holding on to every bit of fat that it can. So if you've tried every diet and failed, it's not your fault. It's, you know, it's faulty science, pseudoscience, that's gotten us to that point. So we've got, you know, a bunch of people that have had some really great results, and I'm not going to spend too much time on these, but, you know, in this case, JB lost 16 pounds, feels better, sleeps better, really everything about my life is better. What an awesome outcome, right? So part of what's going on that has convinced so many of us to eat much more than we really need to is that we do have 6 distinctive human hungers, and these are actually named by Eric as part of the WildFit ethos, because again, it's a situation where often this stuff is just overlooked. So we're going to run through these kind of quickly to give you an idea of what this is really all about. So the first one is nutritional hunger, which is really the only true form of hunger. And this is what happens when the body's asking for specific nutrients. But the problem we have is that our body's been taught to eat anything in sight. And so as a result of that, nutritional hunger is not always communicated in an honest way. And we've got lots of other hungers that kind of convince us to go eat things whether we need to or not. So thirst, you know, back in the bush, we didn't have water bottles. So in large part, our water came from the food that we ate, unless we happened to be near a body of water so we could drink. So now, oftentimes, when your body is thirsty, it's communicating that as hunger. So one of the best things that you can do if you start to feel hungry is drink some water, and your hunger might disappear. And, you know, I mean, if that only works for like 10 minutes, then you probably really are hungry. You probably really do need some food. But oftentimes, just a glass of water is enough to make that go away. And then the next hunger is variety. And part of what this is about is we have a craving for variety as an evolutionary protective mechanism so that we're not relying on one single food source, because of course that would not be nutritionally appropriate. So cravings just mean we get a wide variety of different nutrients in our diet. So sometimes when we think we're hungry, we might just be craving something a little different, especially if you haven't been getting much variety up until that point. And then the next one is low blood sugar, which is a pretty common issue in this day and age, and it's often mistaken for hunger. A couple of different things happen and in order to be able to overcome this. And one of the best of those is avoiding low quality sugars in your diet, because that in alone means that you are less likely to have any of the low blood sugar issues that many people are experiencing on a regular basis. And, you know, even your sugar intake from fruit should be seasonal and comparatively limited. So you don't necessarily want to be eating fruit every day of the year because, for example, from an evolutionary perspective, it would not have been available every day of the year. So that's a little bit of what we mean about eating seasonally, and we'll talk more about that. So emotional hunger, it's one of the most common and one of the most dangerous forms of dysfunctional eating. And I love this thought. People eat memories. And so often, food is being used to satisfy an emotion. You know, think about the feeling that you get when you're getting together with family for a holiday dinner, or you know, you're hanging out with good friends or any of those things. One of the things that I've realized as a result of my personal journey here is that so much of what we do socially revolves around food. And so as a result, we've got a lot of emotions attached to that. So the other thing that we've got going on in today's world is our lifestyles in many cases lead to a lot of, you know, emotional emptiness, which is another way that we just often wind up filling that emotional emptiness with food. And the food industry knows how to market to our emotions. That's what they've been doing. You know, think about things like the Coke commercials, where they're not about what the product tastes like. All they're about is the emotional feeling you're going to get from having that product. And it's not just Coke. I mean, everybody is like that. So one of the things that we can do to overcome that is learn how to, you know, really satisfy our emotional needs with other activities that aren't just food. And then we've got empty stomach hunger. So empty stomach hunger is a survival strategy, so that your response, you know, evolutionary, is to look around for food, because the thought is going to be, if I see food, I should eat it. But it's really not hunger, it's just a feeling. And now, as true, you know, for millennia, in terms of, you know, how long we've been eating this way, our stomachs are designed to stretch, because we used to live in feast and famine conditions. So when we had food available, we were feasting. And when we didn't have food available, we were probably just barely scraping by. And in a number of cases, many people didn't. They may be dying. But this isn't how we live in the 21st century anymore. So your stomach may feel empty, but it's just a feeling and not necessarily one that you need to do anything about. So a big core principle around WildFit is that we need seasons and variety in our diet. So when we talk about seasons, just briefly, in spring, think about it from the perspective that we don't really have a lot of food stuff available at that point. Vegetables aren't really, they're just getting started. You've got relatively little variety. Leafy greens are going to be available, not too much in terms of root vegetables and stuff like that because they take longer to grow. Game is going to be probably a little more scarce because everybody's making new game babies, making new animals during this period. So less out available. But in summer, as we move into the summer season, more variety becomes available. Game becomes more plentiful. And that happens again as we're moving into fall. As we move into fall, all of the stone fruits are ripening. It's probably the most abundant fruit season. Berries are coming on in summer, but stone fruits and that kind of thing, not until fall, along with, a good quantity of root crops and so forth. And again, game is even more plentiful because it's starting to look for what it's going to need to do to get through the winter. And then winter, for Game of Thrones fan, winter is coming. So winter is the time of really least amount of variety. And in terms of WildFit terms, we don't look at winter as an eating season. We look at it as potentially an occasional fast season. So, and let's be really clear about this. When we're talking about seasons, we're not talking about you're going to stay in spring for 3 months, you're going to stay in summer for 3 months, you're going to stay in fall for 3 months, and heaven help me, you're certainly not going to fast in winter for 3 months. Okay? Nobody's going to suggest that at all. But you cycle in and out of seasons in the WildFit principles in order to get the greatest amount of variety in your life. And this comes back to one of the questions that comes up, is this keto? And the short answer is no, it's not. But the slightly longer answer is that when you're in deep spring, for whatever period of time is appropriate for that, you will be spending some time in ketosis. And so that might be a matter of a couple of days. It might be a matter of a couple of weeks, depending on what your particular body is doing and what your tolerance is. So that's kind of how that works. So let's talk about how we can create lasting results without willpower, because what most of us know is that willpower pretty frequently just turns into won't power. Makes it pretty easy to give up. And there's really a great, specific way to be able to do this. So part of the way that we do this, and we've touched on this a little bit already, is really getting clear about food psychology. So there's a huge educational component to WildFit that makes it much, much easier to not have to be exercising willpower at all. We talk about food freedom. And so, for example, it doesn't mean that you may never have a particular food again. It means you will be really clear about what impact that food has on you when you eat it, how it makes you feel, how it makes you function. And so you're making decisions then about what you're eating based on what makes you feel empowered about what you're eating, instead of a specific food list of eat this, don't eat that. So for example, here's an example for me, and I'm gonna out myself because I was actually out with Jeanette a week or so ago, and she happened to have ordered something that had some bread on the plate, and I had resisted the urge to order a full meal because I really didn't need it. But I looked at the bread and I thought, I'd really like to have a piece of bread. And so I did. But it was actually a very specific choice that I made in that moment. And what I didn't share with Jeanette after that was that, I actually ate 2 small pieces. So maybe 20 minutes later was when I first started noticing it. I started having that kind of bloated feeling in my gut and the slight scratchiness at the back of my throat, which is an allergic reaction because I'm not only is wheat in general not good for most people, but I'm actually allergic to it. So there was a bad idea all the way around. And that means that for the most part, bread for me falls into the very, very rarely category of when I may or may not eat it. That was the first piece of bread I'd had in months and will likely be the last piece of bread I will have for some number of months and maybe forever, who knows. So getting freedom around what really is working for you that makes you feel good, that makes you feel empowered by what you're eating is a huge piece. First of all, it's a huge piece of psychology, and how we guide you through this is really meant to not feel like any deprivation at all. So another difference between WildFit and what many people consider to be like a conventional diet is the coaching component. You've got support all the way through the process, as opposed to, going to a website or buying a diet book and you're doing it all on your own. So it's not like that. And that makes a really big, big difference as well. So I'm going to share with you a couple more stories of personal transformation, just so you can kind of get an idea of what kind of results people have had. I love this. Valerie, and I feel the same way. I'm more fit and I've got more energy today than I was 20. So I didn't need any lifting, surgery, or eating a ton of expensive food supplements. In fact, I don't take any supplements at all anymore. So her point is, don't wait until you're 20 pounds overweight to take care of your health. And Cherie struggled with weight loss for years, became that much worse when she hit menopause, and she thought she was doing all the right stuff. She'd been eating what we thought of as a balanced diet. And during her first WildFit challenge, she released 40 pounds and she's been able to maintain it. So pretty impressive. I love this from Laura as well. You look at Laura and, it's a number of different diets, all with short lasting success. The older we get, obviously I went through this as well, put on more and more weight. And this was me. I was feeling resigned to being fat. And I won't say unhealthy, because by comparison, I was doing, not horribly bad, but definitely fat. And I was resigned to being fat for the rest of my life. So really glad that there's a solution to be able to get past that part. And here we have Laura and Donna worked on their transformation as friends together. They did their challenge together. So that was like super cool. So it's a revolutionary food philosophy that teaches you how to eat to permanently change how you think about food and what you eat. It's a 90-day challenge, and we're going to be starting next Monday. So we've got a link that you can sign up, and I'll be sending that out via email as well, along with a link to the replay here. We will have a Facebook group to be able to have discussions and do a bunch of other really cool things, including sharing recipes that are actually WildFit friendly, because one of the things that happens so often, we go back to that hunger variety. When you run out of different choices that make you feel like you're really getting the variety that you want to, sometimes it's difficult to come up with those ideas. And a lot of other supportive stuff that will be very useful in the Facebook group. And I know even on this call, I know that at least one of our people does not do Facebook. And so my plan is also to send out a lot of the resource stuff via email as well, to make sure that nobody gets left behind and is able to participate fully. And then, of course, once you sign up, between now and next Monday, don't change anything. Don't think you've got enough of a great idea that, oh, well, I'm going to start doing this now. Because we'll start in next Monday with what really is a lot of the, the food psychology that really gets you where you want to be. So don't rush into making any changes, because we'll probably undo those changes even if you tried to. As in, we don't want you trying to make changes right up front. So here's what you get. We've got a WildFit video training program, and these are all the videos that are the messages that Eric has prepared that take you through the entire process. And so they come to you via your email. You just click the link and or you can just log into the website for WildFit. Either way, whatever works for you. But you'll get the links to the videos each time. And then we also have weekly live coaching sessions with I had to add in training because I'm not quite a certified WildFit coach yet. But also it's important for you to know that because I am in training, I have a backup master coach who is working with me directly through WildFit headquarters to make sure that everybody gets the experience and the outcome that we're hoping for. So it's not like I'm just out here all on my own, even though I've already had a bunch of training. And the private WildFit community space on Facebook that we talked about, you'll get recordings of all of the live coaching sessions as well. And you'll also get the Living WildFit ebook near the end of the challenge, as well as we talked about some recipes. And I've got some specific recipe books as well that WildFit's put together, which are pretty good. I've made a number of those recipes. And I've also been personally working on, my new word is WildFitifying other recipes to make them really be WildFit friendly. And I've been doing some stuff that I think is really cool. So here's the other thing that is like super, super important. We guarantee that you'll be pleased with the results that you get, because really the stick rate for WildFit clients is over 90% in terms of being able to maintain what they've achieved. It's been really clearly created and updated over several years of working with thousands of clients. And I need to update that because it's really over 100,000 clients in more than 30 countries around the world. I think it's 120,000 clients in 30 countries around the world at this point. So we firmly believe that the WildFit 90 Challenge will help you meet and exceed your health goals. And if you complete 80% of the program, all in, and you're not happy with your results, I'll give you a full refund. And this is the guarantee that WildFit provides. As a WildFit coach, they're not making that guarantee. I am. So it's not like if you decide it didn't work out for you, like it's coming out of their corporate coffers. No, it's me refunding your money personally. So feel comfortable knowing that I am sure that anybody that undertakes this and gives, plays full out, goes at least 80%, will be incredibly happy with the results that they've got. And I'd like to say I'm living proof, so nothing's free, obviously. And here's the deal. The regular price for WildFit is $895 for a single payment, or you can do 3 payments of $350 each. But because this is the trial group, I've put together an exclusive offer that instead of $895, it's only going to be $495. And if you want to do payments, instead of 3 payments of $350, you can do three payments of $195. And I can take credit cards as well as, we can do PayPal or whatever. So not a big deal that way. And I love this quote from Lynn. WildFit helped me make changes that I didn't believe were possible. For the first time in my life, I have complete control over what I eat and drink and how I think about food, which is just so different from what most people are getting. So that's what I have for presentation. Questions? Comments? Thoughts? Anybody? Stan, can you unmute yourself? I had to see the hand go up. I got you, I think. No, I can't. Try again. You're still muted. Nope. I can't unmute you. Can you try typing into the chat room?
Through Wild, there we go.
There we go.
I was muted through my phone and through the Zoom meeting. So the six hungers, my question is, the empty stomach versus real nutritional hunger, how can you tell the difference?
Well, it kind of goes back to the feast and famine aspect of this. So that one is a little bit tricky. One of the things that I noticed is if I drink a glass of water and 10 minutes later I feel like I'm hungry again, then I probably need some real food. But oftentimes the empty stomach hunger thing is just what we've gotten used to, and we've been so well trained to never let that happen by how the food industry has been treating us. So it's a little bit tricky to actually get that one under control, but that's my take on how I approach it. Does that help?
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Anybody else?
I had a quick question, Sally.
Sure.
What do you mean by low quality sugar?
Pretty much refined sugars in general. Okay. So we're largely talking about packaged goods. So sugar occurs naturally in some of our fruits, well, all of our fruits and some of our vegetables, and that's not considered a low quality sugar, but think of it in terms of pretty much anything processed. Anybody else? Okay, well, my next question is, are you ready for transformation? We're starting on Monday, August 31st. And what's going to happen is, I'll get an email out to everybody with the link to be able to sign up to do this. And of course, if other questions pop up as you're thinking about this later, please do reach out. I want to make sure that we get all questions answered for everybody. I'm hoping that the fact that we had very few questions means that I did a pretty good job of explaining it. That's what I'm going to hang my hat on. And so I'm just, I'm really hoping, and again, here's, I'll post the link. But if you're thinking about moving forward, if you're ready to make that transformation, don't change anything. So I want to thank everybody for joining us live today. And as I said, you'll get the replay link, and for all the other people that had already reached out and said they weren't going to be available in person today. So once again, thank you so much. I hope you found some value here, and I really appreciate your time. Have a great evening.